Hello there friends, Steve Turgoose here. Yeah, one of the things I've been thinking about a lot since years really, but especially the last 2 years, is kind of this difference in the way men and women think, man and woman. And myself, after being in a relationship for 20 years with a woman and being partners in a relationship, making decisions between us, I've obviously seen differences in the way she makes decisions and the way I make decisions. To put it in a nutshell, I would say that I make most of my decisions for her, and she makes most of the decisions for everybody. you know, I find that she was much better at looking after everybody, and I was better at looking after her. That was kind of how the intent was. So, and I think that men are like that. They'll do everything for the woman, even everything in the world, but it's all really just for her. And there is this phrase, the crown of a good man, or the crown of a king. A good woman is the crown of a king, or a good woman is the crown of a husband, or whatever. And I agree with that. My woman, my partner, she made a better person out of me. I know that. I don't need to prove it to you or whatever. But she did. She showed me how to love and what love means. But at the same time, I thought it was always her love. I thought it was her love that she was giving to me, like a glass of water to drink. I didn't realise that it was my love that she was showing me, and I was giving it back. And it's this giving and taking. But the love that you have for somebody is your love. It's not their love that they've taken away and given you. It's the love that you have for them. You see what I mean? So the love thing. But then in the relationship, I find that she makes 9 out of 10 decisions are good. They're good for the majority. They're good for the family. They're good for everybody. They keep everybody happy. It's usually the right thing to do. But it seems like in a man's world, in the male world of competition and fighting for a woman and fighting the enemy and stuff, there's a lot of deception and trickery. So it's very possible for a man to put on his ultimate trickery, and I think then another man would want to protect his woman from deception. So what I mean is, like, a woman, I don't think it's like in a woman's mind to be so suspicious of the world, but I think it's kind of almost normal for a man to sit and guard his family, like with the mind of the predator that's coming after him. Whether it's a lion, whether it's another tribe, the man's there to protect, obviously, because if the woman has a child inside her, she can't go out and fight for the man while he sits there. It's an obvious given. So men and women think differently. Man thinks one way, woman thinks another, and I think that's a necessity because of the roles because of the positions we've been given in life. After 20 years of being in a relationship and finding myself back again, becoming single and whole, and realising that the love I'd been given from my partner was still mine, that I'd become like two people and not half at the end of my relationship, that we're doubled, and so I could understand then at that point that in me I have the feminine side and the masculine side, and I have to live the masculine side because I have a masculine body. So my mind has then maybe adapted to running the masculine role more, meaning that I'm more involved in technicalities and law and mechanics and things that women generally need to be less interested in. And there's no necessarily practical better or worse to any. Women are good at things that are just as important, if not more important, than the things that the men are into. Men are into inventions, things are not actually even necessary. Where the women will bring in something that seems not to be necessary, like a quality of life, some nice candles, curtains, a nice smelling environment. These things that a lot of us men tend to put as a lower priority, but we don't know how it works. It's like magic. It's like how did you do this? You know, how did you make me feel different just through changing the environment? I'm not saying that men don't understand it as well. It's just my basic, if I was just to separate the average, you know, I'd say that women are much better at making a good, loving, healing environment, whereas men are kind of more into protection and making sure the outside, you know, fighting and war, because that protects the inside. So I mean, it's not, oh, we love to like play war while the girls like to be, you know, we're counterparts, obviously. And so, like I was like saying, I feel like the feminine and masculine side is within me. I have to play the masculine role. I have to do the things to look after women, and I love women. I love my woman. You know, it's everything to me. It's everything to me. You know, if there were no women on this planet, I'd have no reason to live. You know, I think women are so beautiful that you know, that's why nobody cares about God, because women just blow us men away. You know, make us lose our minds. So that one decision that the man has to make in order to maybe fight against other men, or to fight against a particular mentality, a predator mentality, that one decision that the man has to make is sometimes like nullified, because the woman says no, she's usually right, so the man says, well, it's better this time to not fight, to stand down, to sit down. You know, and usually the woman will say, you know, keep the peace, back down. But sometimes it is time to stand up and fight. Now, so I came into this idea, and I looked in the Bible, and I thought, why is the Bible based, and law, especially law, because I've read maxims in the law that say that women can't be held culpable for crimes, kind of thing. But moving on from there, you know, a lot of the legal system, the Bible and that, favours the masculine aspect. You know, God is a male figure, Jesus is a male figure. You know, when they say to us, I love Jesus and love God, it's a difficult thing when it's a male it's a male name. You know, when it's a male figure, then us men are supposed to expect it to love Jesus the same way as a woman does, at least in this figure, you know, this narrative, this figure thing. It's very difficult. So we're presented with two different stories that we're not going to be able to agree, you know, because I don't find him sexy, you know, I find her sexy. If I had a rewrite of the Bible, I'd have goddess and Jesusine, you know, and the women figures, but it wouldn't work, because like I say, I think the idea of law is the masculinity of law. Now, if we go into law itself, women can go into law, but in earlier days, when common law started, and that, people would be always called he in law, even if it's a woman. Now, I think that's because, you know, favoritism would be left out then, because, you know, it's a difficult concept that, you know, it's a difficult thing that I will leave to later about women and men in law. But generally, as a man, I feel like, anyway, I need the law on my side. I don't need to give it to all the women necessarily, because I need the power to look after the women. Now, if the women just dissolve the law and say, well, we don't want that or whatever, then I lose my power. And so it's the understanding of what law does to protect us and the agreements we make in society. You know, how I treat your woman and how you treat my woman. You know, I know it's like my woman and stuff, but if it's like my protection, my care, my family, then we have to make an agreement between men, because we're going to be the ones that are fighting. We're going to be the ones that need the agreement, I think. This is my thought pattern, but it leads onto this idea of so can you know, my question is, has the woman got the mind to defeat a man's mind? You know, is a man's mind kind of more competitive, more predator, more, you know, in general? I'm not saying all women, there's some fantastic thinking women, so, because I got into a lot of conversations where women would break down and just get tired of the argument because it was too technical, too legal, too literal, you know. But then other areas of law that I've talked about, women are really engrossed in the concept, engrossed in the idea, and they carry the morals almost instinctively. And I'm thinking, well, the women don't actually need any of the law. They just need to kind of understand that there's like a form of deception going on, you know. But when all comes to all, to close it, to bring it to an end, I'm reading things like legislation, I'm reading things like the Bible, I'm reading esoteric books, I'm reading everything that everybody's looking at. Or at least I'm listening to audio books of it. And I'm finding that the men are missing it because they're putting too much effort into the intellectuality. And women are getting a certain piece that the men are not getting there. A massive piece. And the women are going to be missing out on another little piece where it comes to the applying the law, maybe. Why? What for? If we're going to keep the peace. So in a way, I think it's up to every individual to find the man and the woman in themselves and bring them two together and to read the books, to read law, to see the world through both aspects. Now you could call it father and son, or you could call it I don't know, just two parts of yourself, one that's more one that's masculine and one that's feminine. If you're a woman, obviously you have your role. And I don't mean just one role. I mean, as a woman, you can't pretend, just you can't just call yourself a man, obviously. So, but we can all see through both of those sides, through the masculine eyes, through the feminine eyes, and far too much with these with the way of the world, or the state of the world, looking through sinister eyes. We're not going to see solutions. We're going to see predators. We're going to see evil. We're going to see the demons. We're going to see the bad. We're going to see the dangers. We're going to see warnings. Don't do this. Don't go there. He's wrong. That's wrong. This is a lie. That's not the truth. It's all going to be that. And I think when we come to this idea of man and woman coming together, in co-creation of life, that is that actual coming together, and that unity, that love that unites a couple, and then the physical aspect of that unity and everything about it, and the courtship and the understanding and the emotions and the love that goes into that unity to create a new life that's founded on something special. It could be kind of by accident or planned, but nevertheless, this interaction between man and woman is this unity, And so law and other types of aspects, like the way the systems run and things run, need to be looked at in that way of it's like man versus, man and woman, not man versus man or woman versus woman, but that we come together with that kind of, we're going to co-create. As man and woman, it's it's very much to do with life and existence itself. We are, fucked into existence, but it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. So we're all fucked. So but when we come together in business partnerships and things, as musicians, as creative groups, as activist groups, we need to come together with that kind of atmosphere of love, I don't mean physically between each other and everything. I just, what I mean. Because if it's a one-sided thing, if it's a man looking for the answer, if it's a woman looking for the answer, just through, she's looking at from her perspective and he's looking from his perspective, then there's going to be two halves of an answer and we're going to argue over that. But if we're able to, man can feel his own feminine side and be able to see the world through that, to see it for a moment as everybody's not evil, everybody's maybe just making an innocent mistake, nothing more, Maybe there's a few ill doings here and there, but let's just, for sake of peace and harmony and the feminine flow of life, let's just say that nobody really means ill will. Nobody really means badness, But from a man's perspective, we are here to protect the beauty of life, not to targets, but to protect things that are beautiful. And so we have to recognise what's beautiful. We have to see the beauty inside people, in their eyes, in their actions, in the words, not in the image, frozen image. A new way of looking at the world, folks, looking at it through both sides of yourself. Because this is the conflict we're having. There's two sides of yourself pulling, and one side kind of belongs to society and one you're trying to keep hold of. And sometimes you want to believe in yourself, and sometimes that other part just pulls you away from that and says it's not the right thing. And this is the struggle we're having. The struggle with our understanding of the system. The struggle with the understanding of why we have legislation, why we have laws, why we have churches and schools, and why it's all a big mess. Or is it a mess? But like I say, it's that understanding, like even man and woman coming together, it's no point if the man doesn't understand the woman. So the man has to have the feminine side of him, and the woman has to have the masculine inside of her. Otherwise, it's not working, is it? I know we can all do it. I know we can all come together and create a great world. Alright then, I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. See you later. Cheerio.